So have you ever dreamed of launching one of those successful, faceless YouTube automation channels? You know, the kind that seems to just print money while you sleep. It's a massive opportunity for sure, but it's also packed with these hidden traps that can totally sink your channel before it even gets a chance to swim. Today, we're going to break down the 5 biggest mistakes that you absolutely have to avoid.
And look, the insights we're covering, they come directly from a creator named Saad Rashid, who learned all of this the hard way. I'm talking time, money, and a ton of effort poured into a channel that just didn't make it. So what you're about to hear isn't just theory, okay? This is hard-won wisdom straight from the trenches.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle 5 huge traps: the friends and family fallacy, the low-effort illusion, the foreign voice fallacy, the trendy niche trap, and wrapping it all up with the lone wolf approach. Let's dive right in.
The potential for a killer automated channel is absolutely real. But you know what? So are the pitfalls. And a lot of these mistakes are made with the best intentions, but they can completely slam the brakes on your progress. Our goal here is to make sure that doesn't happen to you.
Okay, first up is a mistake that pretty much everyone makes. You've just launched your channel. What's your first instinct? You text everybody you know, right? Your friends, your mom, your cousins, asking them all to subscribe. Seems like a no-brainer to get those first 100 subs, doesn't it?
So you get that initial rush of subscribers, that number starts ticking up, and it feels like you're building some real momentum. But are you actually helping your channel grow, or are you secretly poisoning the well right from the start?
Well, here's the surprising answer. It hurts your channel. A lot. And here's why. By getting all these unrelated people to subscribe, you're feeding the YouTube algorithm completely wrong data about who your ideal viewer is. You are literally training it to fail.
Think about how this plays out. Let's say your channel is all about AI, and it's in English. Your friends and family who are maybe more into cooking vlogs, they're going to see your videos pop up. They might click one out of politeness, but they'll probably ignore the next 10. This absolutely tanks your click-through rate and your watch time, which sends this giant flashing red light to YouTube saying this content isn't engaging. And what does the algorithm do? It stops showing your videos to anyone, including the actual strangers out there who would have loved it.
Let's move on to our second mistake. This one's all about the content itself. It's the trap of thinking automation means no effort. So many creators fall for this idea that you can just kind of assemble content without adding any real unique value.
This right here is a classic recipe for disaster. People think they can just grab a script from somewhere, run it through a robot voice, and slap some stock footage on top. And you know what? You might even get the views and watch hours doing that. But the second you apply for the YouTube Partner Program, you'll almost certainly get rejected for violating the reuse content policy. YouTube wants to see you in the video, your creativity, your unique spin, not just a copy-paste job.
All right, on to our third mistake. And this one is way more subtle. It's about using a real human voiceover, which is a great step up from AI, by the way, but not thinking about the type of voice you're using and how that impacts who you're trying to reach.
Saad shared a really personal story about this. On his first channel, he hired a real person to do the voiceover. Great, right? But the artist had a strong Desi or South Asian accent. And what happened? Well, the YouTube algorithm, being incredibly smart, picked up on that accent and started showing his videos almost exclusively to audiences in South Asia. And here's where it hits you in the wallet. His audience got super concentrated in countries like India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. Now, he was getting views, sure, but the ad revenue, what's called CPM, or cost per thousand views, is way lower in these countries compared to Tier 1 countries like the US or the UK. So just by choosing that voiceover, he unintentionally choked off his access to the most profitable audience out there. Moving on to mistake number 4. Jumping into a niche just because it's hot right now, or you heard it makes a lot of money, but you have zero genuine interest in it yourself. This is an absolute recipe for burnout.
Just picture this. You hear a bunch of YouTubers talking about how Elon Musk channels or luxury car channels are blowing up. You don't really follow Elon, you couldn't care less about cars, but you think, hey, that's where the money is, so you dive in headfirst, full of excitement. But what happens next?
This timeline pretty much says it all. That initial burst of excitement might carry you for a few weeks. Maybe you crank out 20, 25 videos. But because you don't actually have a passion for it, you just run out of things to say. It starts to feel like homework. And eventually, you abandon the channel. The lesson is simple. Passion is the fuel that keeps you going for the long haul.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most critical mistake of all, trying to do everything by yourself.
thinking you can just figure out the incredibly complex beast that is the YouTube algorithm through pure trial and error.
Just think about that for a second. 6 months of grinding, of guessing, of making mistakes, just to learn one single lesson that someone with experience could have taught you in a 5-minute conversation. Your time is your most valuable asset, and going it alone is the slowest, most painful, and most expensive way to learn.
I mean, this comparison puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? The lone wolf path is this slow, zigzagging journey filled with expensive mistakes and a super high chance you'll just give up. But the mentored path? That's about learning from other people's failures. It lets you fix problems as they happen and move in a straight line toward your goal. It just dramatically boosts your speed and your odds of actually succeeding.
So, as we wrap this up, you now know the 5 major traps that cause most of these automated channels to fail. The only question left is, now that you can see the map of the minefield, are you going to try to walk through it by yourself, or are you going to find a guide? Thanks for listening.